Hello, everyone. My name is Mark Dolfini. You are on the call for Marketing Magic. It's good to see you here. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for being on time. Yes, you are on time. You were actually probably here before I was. I was just doing some last minute tweaking to some slides and lost track of time. So I'm glad I made it right on time. It's good to see you. You're a working professional. Very good. Where are you joining us from? Scrivenash. Sorry, I do the best I can with non-American sounding names. So I do apologize if I'm butchering your name. I hate that myself, but man, I have really got to figure out a way to get these fonts bigger because they are really hard to see. Oh, you're from India. Very good. Financial planner in Utah. Thank you, Carson. Good to see you. Are you joining me with your bride today? I see that you guys have got a pretty cool thing going in Utah. I really enjoyed perusing your website. All right, so for those of you who are going to join who have not said anything yet, please let me know where you are from, what line of work that you are in. And there's a lot of people who have signed up for this, and this is one of my more popular webinars just because there's so much stuff going on out there in the marketing world, and I'm getting bombarded with it too. I just want to let you know that there's a lot of stuff out there. Public health consultant in Australia. Okay, very good. Oh, thank you, Lauren. Um, Gosh, what time is it there? God, it's gotta be early. Well, very good. I'm glad that you could join us. And Carl, you are in Macon, Georgia. Okay, very good. Oh, Carl, you're back. All right, very good. I saw you yesterday, so I'm glad you could join us again. 5 a.m. Yeah, I thought it was that early. I'm doing the math in my head. I When I was a Marine, I was stationed in Okinawa, and I know we flew to Australia quite a bit, and so I knew it was at least 12 hours different from where we're at. So well, good for you for getting up so early. I think you were joining us. 12:45 a.m. in India. Oh yeah, okay. So we're hitting it all across the globe. All right, well, thank you all for joining me. I'm gonna make the best use I can out of this particular hour because there's a lot of stuff that's out there. You probably have seen a lot of stuff out there, and marketing right now has gotten very, very confusing. And it doesn't help that we're getting bombarded with all these different messages. What I'm going to hope to do today is to help iron that out a little bit. In order to do that, in order to do that, in order to go faster, we have to slow down a little bit. So, what I'm going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about an overall framework of how your business should be set up, and then it may make more sense for you for which marketing stuff comes along that you can say, yeah, this aligns, or no, that doesn't. And now you can start to sort the wheat from the chaff. And it's not that any particular approach is bad or good. There's some that are definitely better than others, but some just might not fit your business. It might not fit your avatar. It might not fit your product or service because it might not match up with the geography of your avatar. It might not match up with who they are as a demographic, right? They might be too old or too young. It might not match up with their personality or their lifestyles or anything like that. We're going to talk about all of this as we get into this marketing magic. So many of you had I noticed a lot of the same names. I know, Carl, you were with me yesterday in the Business Growth Multiplier, where we really set a foundation for how to set up a business that can then scale. Today, we're going to be talking about more lead generation stuff, but I'm just letting you know I'm a strategist. There's literally dozens, if not hundreds, of different industries that people come to me looking for help with, and it's not all a one size fits all approach. So I'm not going to give you a lot of tactical stuff. I'll give you some ideas, and that's really what it's meant to do today. But I really want to give you a foundation so you can build off of that. So when you do see other marketing things, you can go, yeah, this actually fits. All right. So with that, where am I from? Oh, I am from Lafayette, Indiana. So I'm here on the Eastern time zone. I'm in the far western edge of the Eastern time zone here in the US. I live right across the river from Purdue University. So yeah, so welcome. All right, let's get to it. And just so you know, I know some of you have emailed me already. I've emailed a lot of you. If I have not emailed you, it's not because I'm ignoring you. It's just because I got super busy. Right now, I'm in a PhD program, and it is like finals week. and it's really busy. So I promise I will get you, I'll drop you an email with a replay of this session. I still owe some replays for yesterday's session. I just did not have a chance to get that out to everybody yet. So I promise I will email you. So we'll be in touch very soon. So you might want to keep an eye on your email inbox. It'll come from events. More than likely, it'll come from events@markdolfini.com. All right, so let's get to it. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. And again, if I start going too fast, I have to kind of pack this into 1 hour just so I can stick the landing at the top of the hour, just to be a good steward of your time, but also make sure that also recognize too that you're going to get the replay. All right, so we're going to talk about marketing magic. Here's the reality when it comes to marketing: is you can have the best, most efficient business. You can be a paragon of virtue. You can have such a dialed-in sales technique where you're selling ice to Eskimos and voting booths to Castro, and you can still starve. That's the reality. It doesn't matter if you have the best product, the best service at the best price, you can still starve. And that's the problem that most people don't recognize when they're in business, and when they're busy especially. They think that they're always perpetually going to be busy until they're not. And then they're left scrambling, trying to go, well, should I be posting on social media 6 times a day? Should I be doing this? Like, what should I be doing? So one of the things the points I'm going to be making near the end is that you can never, 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 ever, ever take your foot off the gas when it comes to lead generation. Never, never, ever, ever. And even though you may have marketing that is working, you should have marketing that you're testing. You should have marketing that you're trying out, and you should be failing. You should be failing some, not a lot. I'm not saying you should be failing a lot, but you should be failing. You should be sending out stuff just to test the market and see, like, hey, I'm going to send out a letter writing campaign just to see if I get any responses. And guess what? You might not get any, but that's the market telling you that either your offer sucks or your copy sucks. Okay, great. Now you adjust. Now you fix it and you send it back out. But it's never one and done, but you're always testing, because what happens when this one area over here dries up and you're caught flat-footed and the rest of the industry is like, oh my gosh, what do we do? And you've already been building this other thing on the other side, right? So you can always have your primary, like where you're getting 70 to 80% of your leads. That's great. That's fine. Don't rest on it, because that's exactly what happened to a client of mine. They were in the service industry. They were overwhelmed with leads for many, many years until they weren't. And then all of a sudden they were left like, oh my gosh, what do we do? And now they're scrambling, trying to figure out, because they've been building out this infrastructure with all these people, and they're all just sitting around idle. Okay, so let me take you back to a story of this book right here. It's called The Time Wealthy Investor. I'm not trying to promote any books here. I'm just letting you know, like, again, I mentioned it on all my seminars. I mentioned my books not so you can run out and buy them, but just so, because they're relevant to the story. If you are interested in any of my stuff, you can go to strategicboardroom.com. There's courses, there's stuff there, but I'm not here to push that. But this book, okay, this book is actually out of print, so don't go looking for it. There's an updated version of The Time Wealthy Investor 2.0. But this is my first book, and it was about a 280-page book. It was written for a very specific avatar, and it took me 2 years to write this book. 2 years, writing, editing, taking it back to sometimes I had to tear it back down to the studs and rewrite the whole thing, just because it was becoming very circular in language. I'd never written a book before. So the conversation was very hard to follow. So I got really good advice from people, very good feedback from people. And there I was, getting up at 2 and 3 in the morning, after sleeping for, 5-6 hours, and going back to the drawing board and rewriting this book. And it was interesting because when I wrote this book, I was very proud of this book. And it's really about the mom and pop real estate investor who is just absolutely buried in time. They just did not have, they had so much stuff to do, and they were doing it very inefficiently, very ineffectively, because that was my story. Most of my money comes from real estate, and I was doing it horribly. I was working 16, 17, 18 hours a day, 7 days a week. And yeah, granted, I was bringing in about $65,000 a month, but my life was horrible. I couldn't keep up. I mean, I didn't have any time to enjoy any of the money I was making. Not to mention, I was extremely over leveraged. So I might have been netting maybe $6,000, $8,000 a month on that, but I mean, it was literally jumping from lily pad to lily pad every single month just to keep up with the minimum payments. It was only a matter of time before it all fell apart. And that's what this book was about. So I said all about it. I got this book design, the book cover design. I got everything done. I was so proud of myself. And I went out and I published the book, and I was like, you're welcome, world. And I am proud to tell you that my book sales, now watch this. These are the book sale numbers that I had in the first month. $0. Zero. And I'm not kidding. I was heartsick. I spent 2 years writing this book. And I was like, I haven't sold a single book. I mean, outside of my family who was like, oh, let me buy you a book. Well, but I was like, no, I'll give it to you, right? Because I'm going to have so many people scrambling for this book. And I'm going to tell you, it is a good book. And I'm not saying it's a good book because I am saying it. I'm saying people who read that book were like, wow, this is really granular. This is really, really helpful. And I'm like, I know. It's a really good book. I don't know why people aren't buying it. Well, here's the thing. I was like realizing, wow, this was going to be a lot more difficult than I thought. And that's when I started to learn the marketing side of things, because I'd never sold a book before. I started a brand, and this brand still exists. It's Landlord Coach. If you go to landlordcoach.com, don't multitask. You can check it later. But if you go to landlordcoach.com, that is a brand that I started from scratch around this book. And I was like, okay, let's do this. I'm going to create this brand. I started to learn funnels. I don't know if anybody out there who's new, ClickFunnels and Russell Brunson. I learned I read this books, .com secrets, expert secrets, all of the secrets, copywriting secrets. That wasn't his, that was Jim Edwards. But I read all these books out there and got really, really good at understanding funnels. And I got better with posting and marketing and emailing and cajoling. And I started to put in a lot of effort in selling this book. I paid for Amazon ads. I paid for Facebook ads. I paid for Google ads. And my volume increased tremendously. And in about 3 months, I spent 3 months doing nothing but trying to sell these darn books. And from all that effort, I went from $0 in sales to $95.64. I wish I were kidding. I was so incredibly discouraged. And let me ask you, be honest, and you can put this in the chat. How many of you would have been absolutely discouraged at this point, like ready to throw in the towel? I was like, what the F? I'm following everything that everybody's saying that I'm to do. And I couldn't figure this out. I was so mad. 2 years of writing and publishing this book, no sales, 90 different funnels, buying other people's courses, creating a brand and spending all this money and more money. And I felt like the only people who were making money were the darn advertisers, just to have 12 sales. And if you're doing the math, like 12 sales, that was selling it. Like, I think it was $7.97, because free plus shipping offers were very, very popular back then. Everybody remember the, hey, buy my book for $7.97. Anybody remember those? That's what I was doing, right? But that ship had sailed. That ship had come and gone. And I really I didn't feel good about selling a book that I had spent 2 years writing only to give it away for $8. That made zero sense to me. So anyway, keep in mind, this isn't even profit. I was selling the book at break even just to get some traction. So again, I was just this is how I felt, right? I was so upset, and I was so, I was basically what was happening. And I want you to pay attention to this. I was trying to sell them information when really what my buyer wanted was transformation. The book was packed full of information, but the problem was they were not integrating, right? There's not an information problem. There's not a lack of information problem out there in the world. There's a lack of integration problem. There's a lack of transformation problem because they don't want to take the time to integrate. So I was trying to sell them books when they just wanted their life to be better. That's important, because what I was selling was the trip, not the vacation. Do you guys understand the difference? Like, I'm seeing 100%. Yes. Okay. So you guys would have been absolutely frustrated. This is so important for you to remember. Like, if everybody ever heard you say they're selling the sizzle, but not the steak, you need to sell them the steak. Yeah. The sizzle will get them in the door, but the stake is what they want. They want the transformation. And I was selling the trip, not the vacation. You're like, well, what's the difference? Okay, would anybody sign up for a 9-hour flight to and dragging your bags through the airport and then trying to find a cab in a foreign country? Is anybody signing up for that? That's the trip. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's the trip. So you have to stop and recognize that when people are saying, oh, well, yeah, we're selling the trip, not the vacation, you need to be selling the vacation. You need to be selling the beach. You need to be selling the 3 nights where they're going to be having this romantic thing with their partner and blah, 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 right? That's the vacation, right? That's really important. So let's look at this for just a hot second. So when I started out, the monthly revenues, these are monthly revenues on the left, and this is 2017 to 2020. I had a little over $5,000 per month. That was somewhere around 2018. And then I went pretty quickly to over $17,000 per month in about 30 months. Now, I could have kept up that trajectory, but here's the thing. Something changed for me in 2020. And we're going to come back to this in just a hot second. But this is where I started to realize that this was not going to match up with the direction that I wanted my company to go in. So let's talk about something here. Let's talk about when you start to get really overconfident. All right, let's talk about this guy right here. This guy, let me make this a little bit bigger so you can actually see. What you're looking at here is a guy who's holding a gun. He's robbing a bank. This is a bank robber. And he was so convinced that all he had to do to be invisible to the cameras, wait for it, is to rub lemon juice on his face, because he was convinced that lemon juice would make him invisible. I'm not kidding. This happened in 1995. You can look it up. It happened in Pittsburgh. And this is where false confidence comes into play. And it also plays a vital role in for business owners. So what happened with this guy is in 1995, him and his buddy thought it would be a great idea in Pittsburgh to rob people at gunpoint by disguising themselves with lemon juice, because you hold lemon juice up to heat and it then becomes visible. Well, because he put lemon juice on his face, he wouldn't be visible. I'm not making this up. So it actually kicked off this entire study by these two researchers called Dunning-Kruger. Now, Dunning-Kruger, this is again how false confidence plays it plays a role. Let me get myself completely off the screen here so you can see everything. How false confidence plays a role for business owners, especially the ones who are struggling. So you're going to start down here on the left where that little circle is. Okay. So that is where you're going to start. And as you proceed, now the x-axis along the bottom is competence, and that's also a component of time. So as time goes on, you get more competent, or as you increase your competence. But right here on the left side, you're also the y-axis. You're being much more confident. So confidence goes up very, very quickly, even though your competence is still very low. And what happens is you get to the peak of something called Mount Stupid. So Mount Stupid is basically where you think you don't know what you don't know, but you're just starting to realize that you don't know what you don't know. And that happens pretty fast. So this guy who smeared lemon juice across his face, or someone who was trying to sell a book, all of a sudden realized, oh my gosh, this is a lot harder than I thought. And you wind up in the valley of despair. Unfortunately, this is where a lot of ideas die, is that people get so discouraged, they stay in the valley of despair and they never come out. So what's the key here to moving forward? You increase your competence. You learn, you test. You don't let failure set you back to keep going up that slope. Now you want to increase your competence until you get to the slope of enlightenment, and then you get to the plateau of sustainability at the top. So this is where you also have to recognize where the valley of despair is, where a lot of people get distracted by shiny objects. Does everybody know what I'm talking about here? The shiny object syndrome? Okay. So this is what I'm saying here is that, this is where I felt like I needed to start over. All right. So what I'm saying is, if you're looking at starting over, and this is, when I laid out in the I laid this out in the Viper method, which is in my book, The Time Wealthy Advantage. But I'm only going to focus on a couple of things, okay? Because if I want to engage you in something that I call infinite marketing. Infinite marketing. But before we do this, before I burn it all down and like just scrap everything, I want to set a framework for you to learn so you can be like, okay, I'm going to set my business up the right way. I'm going to set this up. So if I'm going to do this again, I'm going to do this smart. I'm going to do this strategic. Again, I'm a strategist. I'm not a coach, although I use coaching as a mechanism, but I'm not a coach. I'm not a guru. I'm a strategist. I'm going to metaphorically take all of your skills, all of your assets, and put it on a big planning table and figure out the battle plan, right? I'm a Marine. I'm a battle planner. That's what I do. Okay. That's what I did in the Marine Corps. So it's like, okay, let's figure this out. I'm gonna look across the table of everything that you've got, and we're gonna figure this out based on an overall strategy rather than just individual tactics. So, I came upon this method when my business was running horribly back in 2009, and it was interesting because I was working really really hard trying to get this whole thing figured, this property management thing figured out, and I finally started realizing that I had to do something different because I was working a lot of different hours. I mean, I had already come out on the other side of being really, really sick in like physically sick because I got double pneumonia and almost died in the hospital. And then I realized on the other side, holy crap, man, I have got to get some sort of structure for my business because I felt like all I was doing was running over here to do a little bit of marketing and then running over here to do a little bit of sales and then running back here to do a little bit of operational stuff. Oh, and by the way, I had to go do the banking and the accounting. It was a disaster. It was a mess. I felt like I could never get ahead. So if that is resonating, if that is resonating with any of you, right, where you're just so busy you don't really know what to focus on, let me know. Is that something you're like, yeah, all four functions? There are four functions to a business. So I got a question here. Does this mean that if you employed the strategies you used and had transformation as the goal, would that have made any difference? Yes, you're going to see the transformational side on the let me get to the other side and you'll see where the transformation actually happened. Because I did shift, and it was important that I did shift at the end of 2020 because I was not wanting to be in the industry that I was in anymore because I saw certain things that I just didn't agree with. Okay. So let me get into the Viper method. So the Viper methodology is an acronym for vision, infrastructure, process, execution, and reporting. Yesterday in the business growth multiplier, if you didn't have a chance to be in that one, I'm going to be hosting another one, probably not next week, but the week following. I would highly encourage you to that's more of a deep dive into the Viper method, but I'm not going to have a lot of time to get into this right now. But vision is basically, where you want to go. Infrastructure is the bones of the business, the desks, the chairs, the software, things like that. Process is simply how you do stuff. From a tactical perspective, from a strategic perspective, that's how you do things. The execution is basically the stuff that actually needs to get done. And that needs to be identified by, that you need to be really specific in terms of how you're dialing in your execution. And then finally is the reporting function. The reporting is just basically tracking what happened. All right, so now we've got this. Now we're going to look at the four core functions of business, which is lead generation, sales, operations, and accounting. So when you're looking at the if you want to take a screenshot of that, four core functions, every business has to have all four functions. Because if you don't have all four functions, it's not a business. And not to mention, you have to recognize that your company's, your clients' experience happens in this order. They're experiencing your company in this order, from lead generation first, then sales, then operations, and then accounting. So let's look at from the Viper method. It starts specifically with vision, infrastructure, process, execution, and reporting. Vision is broken down into two areas, personal vision and business vision. I'm not going to have a lot of time to unpack this, but personal vision is just basically where it is that you want to go. And business vision is how you're going to get there. You have to take time to organize both. And you can't say, well, I want to make $50,000 a month or 100,000 pounds per month or whatever it is. And then you realize, well, okay, great, but that's a business vision. And the danger in creating a business vision before you create a personal vision is that you end up creating a life that exists to serve the business. And I'm just telling you, it sucks. When you're caught in that trap and you can't even fire yourself from your own job that you created, it sucks. I've been there. I'm in my 50s now. I wasted way too much time without a personal vision and focusing too much on a business vision. when you're looking at the business vision, now this is important. Again, we're starting from top down. And this is really, really important because you have to break your business vision down to 3 C's. The 3 C's of business vision are core purpose, core values, and client avatar. Now, I'm going to go through these a little bit, but in detail, because this is really important for the baseline of your marketing. It's really interesting that when I have conversations with people on the other side of these calls, I'll say to them, hey, what did you get any takeaways? They're like, yeah, I did, but it was kind of basic. I'm like, okay, are you implementing any of the basics? Well, no. Well, what did you come for? They were looking for the golden nugget. They were looking for some little tweak or little thing but they're not even doing the basics. And this is the problem, is that if you're not even doing the basics, you can't possibly hope to be doing anything more advanced. And when I'm talking about the basics here, I'm talking about defining these 3 things. And you're going to understand why here in just a second. Let's get to core purpose. The core purpose is specifically what business are you in and specifically what problems do you solve. And I want you to be very specific in your answers. If you say, well, I'm in real estate and I sell properties on the south side of Sussex. Okay, that's pretty specific. Are you in residential or commercial? Well, I do commercial on the south side of Sussex. Okay, great. So that makes more sense, right? Because you're very specific in terms of what it is that you do. If you're saying, well, I'm in real estate. Well, what do you do in real estate? Well, I do a little bit of this, I do a little bit of that. That's not specific enough. You need to be really dialed in terms of your specific purpose in terms of what it is you do. And the reason for that is because it gets very confusing for your client avatar. We're going to talk about client avatar here in a second. But it would be like if Starbucks started selling chainsaws. They're like, well, why are you selling chainsaws? It doesn't make any sense. Well, yeah, we can, but it doesn't, it's so out of sorts. It's very confusing for the avatar. And as a result, it's going to cost you. You have to be very specific about your core purpose. Next is your core values. I know this sounds super woo-woo and like it doesn't matter. It absolutely does matter. And here's why. When you're defining your core values, you have to start to think about what matters to you about this business. Okay. So this is also helps you define to the world, hey, how would the world be worse off if you are no longer in business? So what does this do? Pay attention to this, if nothing else, because this is the stuff that no one else is paying attention to. I went up to, I had 18 callers. I've got 11 right now. And that tells me that they dropped off because it wasn't interesting. That's great. That's fine. That's not, I don't get salty about that. I'll stay here till 0 because I'm still going to send out the replay. But here's the thing. The ones who are gone don't want to watch this. They don't want to work on this. You know why? Because company culture stuff is boring. They think it's not important. I'm telling you that brand and culture are inextricably linked. Brand and culture are inextricably linked. You cannot get away from the fact that brand and company culture are one and the same. They share the same root system. You cannot get around building a really solid culture and a really solid brand without having well-defined core values. So I don't mean to be wagging my finger, but I spend a lot of time not operating within a defined set of core values. And as a result, it really hurt me. Once I started defining a set of core values, I started attracting not only the customers that I wanted, that brought me no drama, brought me lots of money, brought me lots of referrals. I also was attracting lots of workers who wanted to work with me, who also shared my core values. I hope this is making sense. Okay. Lisa says, agreed. All right. Yes, I am going to be sending a replay. I mentioned that earlier. I will be sending out the replay. I will be emailing it to you. So if I didn't email you yet, I'll be emailing you soon. So it'll be coming from events at markdolfini.com. Lisa says, agreed. Thank you. So true about not being able to fire myself from my business. Absolutely. Yeah. Ask me how I know. Right. I get that. All right. So core values really, really makes a difference. And when you're taking the time to define these things, especially when you get into your client avatar, this is when you start to get really dialed in about who specifically and ideally you want to serve. Because you want to start thinking about them in terms of geographic, demographic, and psychographics. And that's really important. So the folks who dropped off already, guess what? They're not my avatar. I want to get them out of there. I want to be magnetic. And magnetics a magnet does what? A magnet attracts, but what does the other side of a pole do for a magnet? It repels, right? I want to attract those who want me, and I want to repel those who don't. So I'm actually not mad that people drop off the call. I'm actually glad, because I don't want to be having a conversation with people who are not going to resonate with my message. I'm like, oh, I just want money. I don't care. Man, great. I want more money too, but I want to do it in the right way. And I want to be a good steward of that money, right? I want this, the blessings that God gives me. I want to be able to use those in ways that are beneficial, that expands those blessings, right? That's what I'm saying. Not just so we can go out and buy cool stuff. Like, I literally drive a heap of crap. It's a 2010 HHR with 250,000 miles on it. You know what? I'm gonna drive it till the wheels fall off, right? Because for me, that's not what winds my clock. What winds my clock is what I'm doing right now. I love teaching. I love coaching. I love helping business owners get to the next level. So when I'm thinking about my geographics, demographics, and psychographics for my client avatar, I'm being very specific in terms of who they are. Are they married? Are they what age group are they in? Are they educated? Where do they live, right? So I'm thinking geographics, I'm thinking where they are. When I'm thinking demographics, I'm thinking who they are. And when I'm thinking psychographics, I'm thinking how they think. How they think. So geographic and demographic are pretty straightforward. Everybody understands the demographics like age and gender and so forth, right? Psychographics is, I want you to think of a phrase called ALIA, ALIA, and that is their attitudes, right? What are their attitudes? What are their lifestyles? What are their interests? Right? What are their aspirations? And fill in the blank. There could be, what are their politics? What do they enjoy for fun? Like, just things like that are really important for you, because the more you know about them, guess what? The easier it is to reach them. So I know I've got people all over the globe here, and us Yanks, we love our guns, and I'm a gun guy, right? I'm a Marine. I'm here in the Midwest, right? And that may offend some of you. But as long as you can respect, like, hey, I'm a responsible gun owner. I enjoy it. I do it really, really well. And that's, that's something that I'm about. You might go, okay, I respect that. Maybe I may not agree with it, but I respect it. Some of you are going to like, nope, morally opposed to it. This guy's a jerk. I don't like him. Okay, that's fine. But I'm not going to be something I'm not just for the sake of a sale, right? Because that's exhausting, right? And I'm telling you right now, the internet sniffs out like fakers in a heartbeat. Right now, the world is dying for authenticity. And the more authentic that you can be, that's in alignment with a set of core values that your avatar can align with, you'll do well. You'll have more customers than you can possibly want. All right. So this is why I'm saying, like, it's really important that you take the time to get really clear on this basis of core purpose, core values, and client avatar, because this is the foundation around how you're going to market to your people. All right. So I mentioned here with this, where I was basically, starting over, and I'm looking at this, I had like no reason to start over. I had a really decent brand with Landlord Coach. I could have kept up this trajectory. I mean, I was making about $17,000 a month. I could have easily kept up that trajectory. But here was the thing. Something changed for me in 2020. And what that was there was a lot of ick. And I don't know how else to describe it, but anybody know what I'm talking about with the ick? Right? Lisa wrote, thank you. Oh, thank you for this. Oh, you're more than welcome. Try to serve everyone and you serve no one. That's exactly right. Right? You can't possibly try to serve all these different people, because you're going to, if you try to be a friend to everyone, you're going to be a friend to no one. So this is the same thing, is that when you try to serve everyone, you end up serving no one. When you try to attract everyone, you end up attracting no one. But the thing was, with the ick, this is what was going on in the real estate coaching space. And I had built a really good brand around Landlord Coach, but the thing was, I just didn't like what I was seeing. And in 2020, everybody knows that was when we were at the height of the pandemic, and everybody became a coach that year. And I had done really well. It was actually a really good year for me in coaching. And that's when I decided that I was really ready to do something different. And that's when I changed my not my avatar so much. I actually niched up a little bit. I changed my purpose, because all I was doing was basically teaching people how to collect rent on time. And I was like, I just want more than that. I have way more skills. So that's when I started creating a strategic coaching brand. And that's why I decided, okay, here I am, I'm starting over. And this is where I was like, I really needed to find a product or service for a client avatar that aligned with my core values. So what I did during that period of time is I was looking at creating strategic boardroom, and I'm thinking, okay, well, I already know that there's a lot of business owners out there who need help, and they don't know what they don't know. They don't know what questions to ask, and that's why that's the avatar I really like working with. Do I like working with people who are like, in the Fortune 5,000 business? Or I'm thinking, I don't know that I would, even though I could give them good advice. I like working with people who come to me that are going, I'm not sure I don't know the questions to ask, but let me hear you talk a little bit and then go, oh yeah, that's a question that I have, because they don't know, they're overwhelmed. That's the avatar that I like working with. So I started this strategic coaching brand. I just was testing the market to see if there was people out there like y'all who are going like, yeah, I like what this guy has to say. Let me try it out some more. So that's what I did. And I tested the market. So if you're the main thing that's really important for you, if you're starting over, find a product or service for a client avatar that aligns with your core values. You can't do that unless you define your core values. So let me give you a quick hint. If you're trying to define your core values, like, well, yeah, I kind of know what my core values are, but you might value peanut M&Ms, right? But is it a core value? It probably isn't. Because what I'm telling you is a core value is a value that is so deeply held and so strong within you that it would require you to act. Like, you could not sit still because it was such a deeply held value. That's the key. Because at the end of the day, let's say for argument's sake that you had a value and you're like, okay, well, let's say, I don't know how old everybody is on here, but let's just assume everybody on here is an adult in at least their 20s, okay? If you are at least that old, chances are you've had a friend that wandered off the reservation that you had to let go. Anybody ever had that? Do you know what I'm talking about? It might have been a bad relationship. It might have been a friend, anything like that. It's heartbreaking. It sucks. But you're going, nope. You're acting in a way that's counter to a value that I can't overlook. And I'm sorry, but we're done, right? And it's not necessarily you're like, good day, sir, and you cross swords or something. It's not like that. It might be just you stop watering that grass. Instead of picking up the phone to text him, you go, you know what? I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to call. I'm not going to message him right now because I need space. I need distance, right? So you start becoming emotionally separated, right? And that's how it happens, right? So that core value, that's how you start to recognize something as a core value, is when there's a violation and you go the other way. That's how you know it's a core value. Maybe it was a boss. Maybe it was a manager that you worked for. Maybe it was a coworker that just you wanted to, hold down in a sink full of water for a while, right? But I'm just saying, like, these are the sorts of things that you have to recognize, and this is how you define your core values. So the opposites are really the extremes, where you can start to pick out your core values, and also maybe an event that you would love to replicate because it was such an amazing event, right? Maybe it was a family reunion. You're like, what was it about the family reunion? I don't know, it was about togetherness, and everyone's laughing and having a great time, and we were reminiscing and blah, 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 right? Maybe that's something that represents a core value for it. So what is that around, right? Is that family values, as it was family orientation, whatever. Like, these are the sorts of ways that you can help determine what your core values really are. Then you deliver massive value to whatever that avatar is. Meaning, and give them stuff for free. Because remember this, the market judges you by your samples. The market judges you by your samples. This is something that Claude Hopkins, who wrote a book called Scientific Advertising back in the 1908, he wrote it. He's like, the market judges you by your samples. Think of the door-to-door salesman. They're knocking the door. They come up and they go, hi, Mrs. Jones, would you like to try whatever cleaning solution, right? Well, sure. Here's a solution. Give it a try. I'll be back tomorrow, right? And they would do that. That was their samples, because the market can only judge you by your samples. The market can only judge you by what you give away for free. So if you're making them pay for everything, and especially if you have a high ticket item, they're like, well, I don't know that I can do that, right? So maybe you have a really high ticket thing that you can't do, but you can educate them on that and give them free education so they can make an informed choice. That's giving stuff away for free. That's demonstrating competence, which helps build trust. And the fastest way to build trust in any market, in any conversation, is to demonstrate competence. Remember that. The fastest way to build trust is to demonstrate competence. And if you can demonstrate competence, you're going to get to trust much faster than your competition, and they're going to want to buy from you. That's the main point. So that could be on you hosting a webinar just like this. You can do it. You signed up for it on Eventbrite. It's not that hard. Okay? I mean, trust me, if this jarhead can figure it out, you can absolutely figure it out. It's not hard. So it just takes figuring out to find an avatar that you want to work with and that you can deliver high value to. All right. So so if you're really needing money in a hurry and you're like, hey, look, this is all great, right? This is all phenomenal. But right now, like mama's got bills to pay and I got to feed my kids. What I would say is focus on these main areas right here. Focus on vision, focus on execution, and focus on reporting, because you need that vision piece is going to make sure that you're putting out a message that's going to align and resonate with the people you most want to bring to the table. Because you probably, I don't know about you, you're like, well, I'll take anybody and everybody. Anybody ever said that? If I had 3 hands, I'd put them all up, because I've said that. I don't care who they are, just everybody come. Well, have you ever worked for broke people? Broke people suck working for, because they will take, and not give anything in return. So I don't know about you, but I like working for broke people. I don't mind giving stuff away for free if it's my choice, but I don't want people like coming to the well all the time for more and more and more stuff where I'm doing a little bit more for a little bit less, a little bit more for a little bit less, and it never stops, right? So this is really important that you identify your personal vision, your business vision, and then dial in what you're going to do, the specific executionable items. For those of you who remember on the call yesterday, the business growth multiplier, the daily 5, those are the 5 things that you will do that are needle movers. Those are the things that will move the needle most towards your business vision, right? That's the thing that you really like. I'm not talking check email. I'm not saying like, oh, check voicemail. That's not a needle mover. I mean something that's like picking up the phone call and doing 30 cold calls. That's a needle mover to me, right? That would be one activity, right? What's the other 4? I like a daily 3 personally because mine are pretty big. Like this to me was a needle mover today, right? So I'm just saying like this is, and then the reporting function. The reporting function is so important because then you can track your results. Because if you said, well, if I did, let's say I sent out 1,000 letters last month and I got no replies, and I didn't know that I sent out 1,000 letters. I'm like, well, how many letters did I send out? Well, I don't know, a lot. But if I track it, and I track it through my Pipedrive software. Pipedrive is a CRM. I track that. Now I know how many I sent out, and I know, okay, well, I know I'm sending it out, and I know they're opening it because I hand address the envelopes. Well, I don't, but someone does. And the envelopes are hand addressed, so I know the likelihood of them opening it is very high. Because it's curiosity, they're going to open the letter. And if they open it, they read it, they're either like one of 2 things. Either the copy sucks or the offer sucks. One of the 2. So, right? So now I'm like, okay, so now I just need to dial in a little bit better, right? That's why reporting is so critical. All right, so let's look at the 4 core functions of business. The 4 core functions of business, as I mentioned before, are lead generation, sales, operations, and accounting. And again, your customer's journey happens in this order. So you got to keep that in mind. When you're looking at this, again, if you're looking at this on the left, that is let me get my giant dome out of the way here. All right. So when you see this on the left, this is the customer's journey that happens. It starts at lead gen, then goes to sales, then operations, and accounting, right? When you look at the right, this is what your approach to lead gen should be. This is the infinite marketing program. Is your lead generation never ever stops, even through sales, even after they have purchased from you, even after you have performed the fulfillment, and even after you have billed them and you have invoiced them and you have received payment, you are continuing to market to them. So what am I talking about when I'm mentioning this? I'm talking about the conversation never stops. You're thinking like, well, what if I did a one-off service? Like, you don't understand. Like I did a one-off service. I'm a website builder. Once I build them the website, I don't really come back. Once I put on a roof, I don't ever go back. Once I sell them a house, I don't ever go back, right? That's a once every 7 years transaction. Yeah, but do they know anybody? Are these people part of your avatar group? Are these people like, oh my gosh, I wish I could do 10 more transactions with these people because they were so fun? Do you think that they likely hang around people that are jerks? Or do you think they likely hang around with people that are like them? More likely they hang around with people that are like them. And I will tell you, especially if you do a really good job with them, if you demonstrate high value, demonstrate competence, and they're like, hey, do you know someone? Hey, my mother-in-law is looking to buy a place. And you're like, my mother-in-law can be kind of a pill. I don't really know that she would be the best customer for you. They will protect you because those are raving fans. They're going to go, you know what? I would send you a referral, but sometimes the non-referral is better than the referral. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? You're like, oh my gosh, how did I get this customer? What did I do wrong in my life to get to deserve this? This is what I'm talking about, is sometimes the non-referral is better than the referral, but they will protect you. If you ask them for a referral, or you ask them for so even for a reference, or even for a review on Google or something like that, they will happily do that because they were raving fans. But I'm telling you, like, when you're coming back to the slide, when you're looking at this, the lead generation function continues on forever. And I'm making this point because many people are out there looking for customers, and they may already be in their contact list. They may already have it in their contact list, and they're trying to go out and hunt for new stuff when they've already got probably 4,000 names in their phone, and 2/3 of them, they don't even know who they are. This is where you need to start getting really clear, culling your list down and saying, hey, how do we know each other? You're in my phone. What is it you do? Reinvigorating that list so chances are you have people in your phone right now that are ready to buy, right? Or at least could say, hey, I'm doing something different now. I just wanted to reconnect, blah, blah, blah. And if they are not in your, let's face it, we do have people in our phones that, just so when they call, we know not to answer, right? I get that, right? But if that's the case, then mark those people as, like, don't call or anything like that. So that these are people that you don't want to be talking to because they don't align with your core values. That's totally fine. But here's the reality. When you stop marketing to these people, sorry, I lost my mouse there. Okay. But when to start marketing these people is when they have demonstrated to you that they are no longer your client avatar. That's when you stop marketing to them. So what might that look like? Well, if they, start showing signs that they don't have, I wouldn't even say they don't have money, but if they don't align with your core values, and that's really number 2, is if they start demonstrating that, they're takers, or they're just going to be really difficult to work with, that might be, demonstrating that they're not your avatar, or they're not aligned with your core values, or they have died. And assuming you don't want to work with cadavers, I would say that pretty much number 1 and 2, you can pretty much leave that there, because if they demonstrate that they're not your avatar, or they demonstrate that they don't align with your core values, then you can stop marketing to them. But otherwise, even if you have something else to do, or some other product or service that you could either upsell them on, or you can send value in their direction, that's going to be something that's really, really important. I'm going to give you the kind of the formula and what to do that here in just a hot second. So one of the things that I didn't mention here is now right here. Okay. So what I didn't mention here is that little circle there, that is not all from book sales. I had to listen to my avatar, and what they didn't want to buy from me was homework. They didn't want to buy homework. So instead of starting to sell them a book, I started asking questions, right? And this was important because I knew who my avatar was, and I started going to where they were, right? I was going to real estate investment groups and these groups where people were really learning how to get better in their real estate investing, right? So I was fishing where the fish were, and I really started getting myself out there, and I was really getting out from behind my keyboard. As I stare into the camera, you know who you are. You have to get out from behind your keyboard. You have to, even if it's virtual, even if it's on camera, that's fine. But getting metaphorically or actually out from behind your keyboard, rather than just, sending emails all day, right? That, like, people want to make connections. People are dying for authenticity right now. Let them see it. Let them see the real version of you. You're probably a decent human being. Let them see that. So I wasn't hiding behind my keyboard anywhere. I was literally going and speaking wherever I could, whenever I could. And when I was there and I would meet someone who seemed like my avatar, I would get their contact information and I would start asking them questions. And I would say, hey, what were you hoping to learn by being there tonight? I did that with many of you over the weekend. I had, during like Friday and Saturday, I was sending out emails. I was like, oh, getting caught up on emails. And I was like taking a break from writing and I was like, oh, let me send out some emails. And hey, tell me what kind of what line of work do you get into? Now I read your emails. I didn't get a chance to respond back yet. But why would I ask that question? Why would I ask that question of you for like, hey, what kind of work is you in? This is the, audience participation part of the of the of the webinar, right? Why would I ask you that question? The question is, so again, what was I hoping? The question was basically, what were you hoping to get by being there tonight? That's what I was asking the people who were at this seminar. When I was asking that question of you guys, and I was asking the same question to them, I was learning from you. I was learning from them. I was learning what was keeping them up at night. I was learning what their problems were. And if their problems aligned with something that I had, like if their problem aligned with my solution, then I knew how to speak to them in a way that might resonate with them, assuming that they were my client avatar. So again, what were they hoping to learn from me? What were the things that were keeping them up at night, right? That I was asking them all those questions so I could be more educated and be more competent. Let's bring this back to Dunning-Kruger. Remember, I was up here at the peak of Mount Stupid. I didn't know what I didn't know about selling books. And I was down here in the Valley of Despair like, oh my gosh, should I just trash this and start selling feet pics on the internet? Like, I didn't know what to do. So I increased my competence. I wanted to get up the slope of enlightenment as quick as I could. And by increasing my competence, that's how I got there as fast as I possibly could. So I learned from them. And I wanted to fail as fast as I possibly could because every time I failed, I was learning. So that's why I'm looking at failure going, oh, cool, I failed. What went wrong with this? And I'd say, okay, cool. Now I know, let's keep going. The problem is most people stay down here in the Valley of Despair. And then this is where shiny object syndrome kicks in and they go and they wander off into something else and then repeat this cycle all over again. Ask me how I know. So I've been through this cycle many, many times, and I would like for you to not have to go through that. So once you know the problems of your avatar, you can deliver value to help solve those problems. And this is where the marketing magic comes in, is you really need to spend a lot of either money or time. Many of you have more one than the other. Some of you have more money than time. Some of you have more time than money. And you're like, I'd love to have that problem. Be careful what you wish for. Because sometimes when you have more money than time, that's where I was back in 2009. And I was doing pretty well going into 2008, 2009 until I wasn't. And I had lots of money coming in, but man, I had absolutely no time and it sucked. I felt like I was on an endless conveyor belt. So the thing that I want you to think about is these three things: consumption, production, and promotion. Every workday has some balance of consumption, production, and promotion. Consumption is everything is consuming. Like I got this delicious sweet tea from McAllister's. For those of you who here in the US, you understand how delicious it really is. And I'm consuming that. I consume some social media, right? I got some things that I was consuming. But it's easy to look at things that are consumption activities and think they're production activities, and they're not. Like if I'm reading a book, which I read a lot of books, I'm on pace to read about a book every 10 days this year. And even though that is very productive for my learning and things like that, it is 100% consumption activity. Is it good for me? Absolutely. Is it good for you? Yeah, it's good for you because I consume a lot of information and I put it back out in the form of education. So this to me right now is not consumption. This to me is promotion. And promotion is where I'm actually getting my name out there, demonstrating value, showing what I can do, right? Production is when I'm actually doing the deliverable. So this is where you have to be really careful. And this is where I'm saying, if you've got more money than time, and I'm just going to put this out there because if you've got more time than money, you can spend it on different activities. But if you're trying to grow your business, especially for those of you who are ready to scale, you need to be spending about 60 to 70% of your time on promotion. on literally on stuff where you're in front of people, you're explaining what it is you do, you're demonstrating your competence. And that could be in the form of free products, free service, just so you can demonstrate what it is that you're doing. All right. So just again, you have to be delivering value. And there's a ratio of value to ask. And I'll show you that here in just a second. So if you've got more time than money, you can spend it doing networking, right? This is where you're going to your Chamber of Commerce events. You can be going to at business after hours. You can go, these whatever events that are hosting. Sometimes they're online, sometimes they're in person. If you can do them in person, it's generally tends to land better, but have a plan to follow up with these people rather than just going and collecting business cards, putting them in a rubber band on your desk, and then forgetting who they are and throwing them away 4 months out of the year, right? You know what I'm talking about? Yep. If you understand what I just said, then you have done that yourself, because again, ask me how I know. So you can do stuff like direct response. Direct response marketing is the difference between posting and like branding, right? Or this is like branding and posting, on the internet versus, hey, I've got this very specific offer. If you're interested, go ahead and click this link or pick up the phone and call this number or scan this QR code. Direct response gets them to take an action right now. Hey, if you're interested in this, hey, say yes in the comments. That's direct response. Other than, hey, if you're ever interested in buying a house, let me know. That's not going to do anything. That's such a vanilla ask. You want to, hey, if you're interested to buy a property right now, if you want to close before Thanksgiving, if you want to close before the holidays, you need to start looking right now. Call me, pick up the phone, call me right now, or text me this number right now. That's direct response. So I can unpack that further, but I just want to let you know, you can look up direct response more specifically, but I don't ever want to put stuff out there for branding because branding is it's too expensive and you never know if it's working. People are like, oh yeah, I'm calling you because I saw your ad on a billboard. I'm like, I'm not running any billboards. Like, why are you, what are you saying? You could be holding meetups. You could be holding webinars just like this. If you've got, and you're looking at it from a 4-to-1 ratio. A 4-to-1 ratio is where you're sending out 4 pieces of value to 1 ask. So in other words, you might be sending out like, hey, and they're all asks, but I'm saying 1 monetary ask. So you could say, hey, I've got a video that I just posted. This might be interesting to you. Check it out. Right? That's 1. Hey, here's a white paper I just came up with. You can download it here if you're interested. That's 2. Hey, here is, and this could be video, these could be emails, these could be text messages, these can come out in any way you want. Hey, I'm hosting a free class. You can sign up here if you like. Okay. Hey, here's an ebook. Here's a copy of my ebook. I'm offering it for free. You can just download it here. That's 4. Now, the 1, hey, I've got a course that I'm selling for $197. If you want it, you can click here. That's the 4-to-1 ratio. That's what I'm talking about. Most people are literally just punching you in the mouth all the time saying, hey, buy my crap, and you wear them out so fast. They think everything you send to them is a marketing thing, and you're going to wear them out. So that's what I'm saying. The 4-to-1 ratio, you can be 3-to-1 and then 5-to-1, but the average should be 4-to-1. I know we're getting to the top of the hour here, so I'm going to wrap up here in just a hot second. If you have more time than money, versus more money than time, here's the thing. If you've got more money than time, I want you to start thinking of who you can hire to do these things, not how can I get this stuff done. Who can I bring in? Who can I have do this stuff? Who can I have market for me? Who can I hire to bring in? Not how can I do this. It's important that you think about it from that perspective. Build out infrastructure. Build out your infrastructure for your business where you can build out infrastructure from, I mean, you can use AI. I'm going to use AI as a tool, not as a crutch. But I will use AI to certain degrees. But for me, it's about building the conversations with people. That's much more important. But you want to create processes around shareable content because content is going to help demonstrate what? It's going to help demonstrate competence. That's right. Very good. So you want to give away tons of value. And again, do not forget that the market judges you by your samples. So you want to give away lots of value and lots of different things. So I'm going to give you one quick thing that is for free. You can go if you'd like to. If you have any questions, I'll stick around for a hot second if you want to type them in. But I'm going to put if you are a Facebook type of guy or gal, I am going to put this in the chat www.facebook.com/groups/time wealthy VIP. So if you'd like to go to this group right here, this is a group that I have on Facebook. I post up every day or two. I don't blow you up with everyone posts all the time, but if you'd like to be part of this, you're more than welcome to join the community. And again, I'm going to be starting to run these classes through that Facebook group, so you don't have to sign up anymore if you want to be part of that. And that is all I have, everybody. Thank you so much for sticking around. I don't see any questions in here. I will be sending out the replays here shortly. Hopefully you found this helpful, but if nothing else, please make sure that you're getting really dialed in on those three main areas: the core values, the core purpose, core values, and client avatar. Get really clear on those things so you know who to direct your marketing towards. All right, everybody, thanks so much for sticking around. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you guys next time.